You are now tuning into the In the Pocket edition of the Game Sports Show, powered by the Game Entertainment and Media, also known as GEM. This In the Pocket edition is presented by Sportscenter Bar and Grill. Sportscenter Bar and Grill is located on 624 Wellington Street West in Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario, Canada, and has been named the Sault's Best Sports Bar for 5 years in a row. Count them, 5 years in a row. Also named the Sault's Best Wings for 2 years in a row. Head on down to SportsCenter today to enjoy many delicious menu options in-house or for takeout. In particular, highlight Mondays and Wednesdays so you can have the pleasure to enjoy 75-cent wings from the best in town. SportsCenter is the original home to the Game Sports Show since 2015, a true member of the family. And with the atmosphere SportsCenter brings, there is no better spot to enjoy the game or time with friends. The Game Sports Show sends a cheers and a salute to the Sault's Best Sports Bar. Booyah, and it's time for the Game Sports Show. This is the In the Pocket edition, episode 2 of season 5, powered by the Game Entertainment and Media and presented by SportsCenter Bar and Grill. SportsCenter Bar and Grill located in Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario. Sault Ste. Marie's best sports bar, 5 years in a row. Best wings, 2 years in a row. It is your host, David McCaig, and I'm joined by EJ Russell and Justin Heichel, and we're going to get to those fellas in just a few moments. We're going to get through the usual introduction portion here of the show. Make sure you hit like, follow, and subscribe on all the platforms of the Game Entertainment and Media and the Game Sports Show, as well as don't hesitate to check out SportsCenter Bar and Grill on Facebook and Instagram as well. You can scroll down on our website, which is thegamesportshow.com. Click on SportsCenter and it'll be directed right to their website where they have a menu that you can select what foods you want to order if you want to do takeout. And what better than to go watch a game than to go to SportsCenter Bar and Grill and go to the best bar in Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario. Just makes sense. Best bar in town. You go watch a game at the best bar in town. Makes sense. Now, I want to introduce the fellas, and I'm going to go first to someone who's in Escanaba, Michigan. He's over the border. He's in a country that myself and Justin have been unable to visit for a year and 18 months, around that area. Sorry, I've lost track of time, but nonetheless, the one and only Cleveland Brown fan owned EJ Russell.
Yo, what's up, boys? How we doing?
Oh man, I'm living the dream. I'm sure Hike's living the dream. He had a great week 1.
Well, I mean, week 1 was week 1. Okay. And some of us that are sitting here aren't happy about it, but it's over. The NFL season started, and of course, we had a lot to talk about on this podcast.
Lots and lots. And if everyone did not know that the Game Sports Show is the mischief child, we like to call it, of the Game Entertainment and Media, and why we do that is because, and why we call it that is because we are expanding the Game Entertainment Media to a full-fledged platform that we will get more into down the road when appropriate. So yes, myself, EJ, and Justin are on Zoom for our platform, and we are looking at each other for video. However, you're still seeing the audio version of the show. There will be visual and audio options come around Halloween is the projected time. A little bit spooky. You get to see our faces at a spooky time. Bad pun. Now I'm going to introduce the one and only Justin Heichel, Indianapolis Colts fan. He was an Andrew Luck fan. He was a Peyton Manning fan. He saw Reggie Wayne. I almost said Reggie Rain. I almost said butchered a name right off the hop. But the Colts, big fan you are, Hike. Tough week 1. You're an overall football guy. You played football in high school. You played for a well-known coach at St. Mary's. Everyone knows who that is, and you can mention his name. He's a legend in Sault Ste. Marie. But I am happy that you're able to join and talk to us week by week, my friend. Thanks for coming on.
Good to be here as always. Good to chat football. Good to talk about football after, week 1. I don't know. I'm just happy. Colts sucked week 1. Colts always suck week 1. But let's get talking.
I like it. Week 1. And I must say quickly to listeners that In the Pocket has been our first news show that we launched after Labor Day. A Top Shelf will be coming in the coming weeks as well. We have hockey season starting October 8th here locally in Sault, Ontario, that we'll have our local coverage. But if you're looking at our national coverage as well, we'll have all that starting around the end of September, beginning of October. We will have a baseball show coming up this week as well with myself and Connor Henderson. Now, the hockey show was called Top Shelf, presented by Northern Superior Brewing Company, but now it's going to be called Top Shelf, presented by the Tap Room at Northern Superior Brewing Company. So a slight little change. And then also the same change will come for our baseball edition, which is called Strike Zone, which is now presented by the tap room at North Superior Brewing Company. So that's just a little plug for new shows that we have that are still coming. We have the ESPN 1400 edition with myself, EJ are on. We have Scott and Butch on there as well. We have a soccer show that Daniel Scarpino and Scott do. We have a miscellaneous show where we talk every show. We got shows all over the place on this platform. So make sure you check out the website to get all those needs. And if anyone's asking about the special edition upload, we will have one very soon. And yes, it will be an audio one. It'll be the last audio one that we'll upload, because after this special edition upload that I'm not telling you who the guest is of the upload, we will have a video upload with a major guest. And you know what? I'm going to tell EJ and Hike who they were and who that was, I should say, off of air. Because you know what, listeners, as much as I'd like to tell you, we're going to have the surprise, because that will align with the launch of our video. Now let's get into, I went through all the fun stuff here. We're talking in the pocket. Let's get it kicked off. And that's going to be me that's going to kick it off right now by telling you the agenda. Myself, EJ, and Hike are the three hosts. As we mentioned, Jamie Antonello will not be with us tonight. He'll be doing a lot of coverage this year in terms of local football in Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario. He may not be on as much for these shows. Ben Tyler Willette is somebody that we'll have on in the future as well. But if everyone's asking about the pick'em, the results were in the pick'em, and I'm going to let Hike, when he comes up to
the results, let's talk about those, baby.
Let's talk about those results. Now, I'll say flat out, I didn't get my picks in time, but Hike got my picks in and got them in on time, so state my record. But I'm going to go over to Hike in just a few moments to get the results of the pick'em for week 1. And then for the whole agenda, after we do that, we're going to have EJ, Hike, and then myself in that order, talk about a game last week that we want to talk about that stuck out to us, talk about that. And then we're going to start talking about games this week. And then we'll have a little product placement by yours truly. I have to make sure I include that, followed by our pick'em for week 2 before you wrap up the show. Quick and dirty, we like to call it. Hike, I'm going over to you after I've already kicked it off. I need the punt return from you to give us what the results were of the pick'em league of our Game Sports Show pick.
Preach.
Well, I feel bad because EJ is so excited right now.
Yeah, he's not going to be in a few seconds.
So I think the way the math works out is that Dave ended up 12-4.
How?
How
did he end up 12-4?
I posted his picks in the message board. I couldn't get his picks in time on Monday.
Is he 12-4? I'm down 2. This is upsetting.
Yeah, I did. I know you were so excited. I felt.
Oh, I'm going to the message board right now. I'm checking this.
You can fact check it. You can fact check it. I'm fine with that.
But the results, Hike. What do we got? Who's first, second, third, and fourth right now? As we only had 4 people sign up, as a couple of the members didn't get the chance to sign up in our kind of our realm of staff here, given the schedule conflicts and notification conflicts. But the 4 of us will have some fun with this.
All right. So Dave is currently 12-4. Mayfield of Dreams. I'll let the listeners decide who that is. He is 10-6. Tyler, wild card, here is 9-7. And then I'm rounding it out with the old Sioux College Pass at the 8-8.
Now, even if I will say this though, even if I have to lose, I will take that I'm the only of us 3. I did tell you that the Chiefs were going to beat the Browns. I called that game, and I want that one. The game of the week, I had it called right.
I think I'm the only one that picked the Steelers, 2 to pick the Bills.
Well, that
you know what? Fuck the Steelers. That screwed up so many of my pro line tickets. It's not even funny.
Najee Harris was an absolute embarrassment to my fantasy team, even though I won by a score of 107 to 106 in fantasy this week. I got the win. But Najee Harris and the Pittsburgh Steelers fucked me.
I think whoever had Aaron Rodgers got fucked, actually.
Yeah, this is me waving my hand over here. 3 keeper leagues.
You have Aaron Rodgers?
Yeah.
Oh, baby.
Yeah, he was like, man, it's just like a bad hemorrhoid on my roster.
Well, no, the bad hemorrhoid is the fact that Dave beat me and he didn't even register the picks. I couldn't even see it. Still can't find the message.
Right now.
So you got to go to the fuck. We'll talk about it off air. This isn't a radio thing.
Yeah, I gotta go to the this setting and then that to find it. Yeah, I gotta do it on the browser or whatever.
Right now it says I'm 0-16, which is so incorrect.
Which is true.
Which is
all of us will take it.
He didn't get him in.
He had him in. I've got the text messages.
I got him on time. It's on tap.
Commissioner Hike has got it settled. So at least we have a commissioner to control the chaos that is the In the Pocket Pick'em segment.
At least I'm not the commissioner. That'd be fucking bullshit if I was the.
I should be the commissioner because you'd be out.
The only shitty thing is that now we have to properly track that every game or every week because it's going to show me 0-16.
Yeah, Hike has to deal with that for the rest forever. So that's on you, buddy, for letting that.
That's fine. I got it. I'll crunch the numbers.
I like that.
Now, will the system let you go and plug it in?
No,
I mean that's good info for like other people that do the pick'ems. Like,
yeah,
we're using Yahoo for our pick'ems here, guys, to keep tracking. And if he can go and plug it in, that'd be great. So you might be able to check it out.
No, I tried, and the only way to do it is I gotta like reset the league and then enter everyone's picks for week 1. I was like, I'm not doing that.
Perfect. Reset the league,
and
then still gets a 0.
We had the option to just eliminate everyone's worst week, which I was also okay with, but the message board
I don't like that.
The message board seemed like the best option for transparency.
Yep.
I will say this year for our fantasy league, we recently switched from, I won't say what other platform we switched away from, but we switched to Yahoo, and that's allowed for far more freedom for commissioner control. So that's been a lot of fun. Yahoo's a nice platform.
Yeah.
Yahoo in the States has some really killer
no
features.
Free ads, but
Yahoo can send me a fucking check.
Yeah, right.
Send me a check. My address is located nowhere. Just ask me on our website. I won't say it on radio. You never know who's going to come to stock.
And I get it. And I get 10%.
Yes, you do. Yes, we all get 10%.
I'm a forever salesman.
Now,
I want to be able to edit some of my fantasy stats from like the early 2000s. That's all I want.
Right. Add a little extra to Wes Welker or whatever.
I got some bad averages there.
Hey, listen, if you didn't have the Steelers in the early thousands, you guys are just making picks all wrong.
If you didn't have Wes Welker as your wide receiver in the early thousands, you were an idiot. Wes Welker was, for PPR, was the greatest wide receiver.
I got the funniest story about pick'ems. This is actually a good relatable.
I was going to say, I've got a solid, like super random, quick Wes Welker story.
Well, and let me point this out too. Dave did just tell us we're gonna fit this in a half hour. I said, no, we're not. We're gonna talk way too much.
We have too many random stories.
Right.
So this is a good story that, and now I want to do a fact check on this because I want to really look this in. And this relates to football, so it's really good. So it's relatable content. When people click in the pocket, they expect to hear football. And guess what? You've been hearing that, except my little news plugins at the beginning, which is standard. But I was entertained with a story that my fiance's father actually claims that he was a part of the first fantasy football league in Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario. Now,
who cares?
He doesn't know if it was like or ever. He thinks
NSYNC just got popular there. It doesn't matter.
He thinks that it might have been ever, but he thinks his first time that he did this pool was in 1980 or something like that, and he's been doing the same pool since the 80s. Now, I wasn't alive in the 80s.
They started writing on a yellow legal pad.
They actually, what they did is wrote down and they did manual tracking for stats.
Is that the citywide one? Like there's like 300 or 400 people in it?
Yeah, back then you had to do it in the news. You had to go to the newspaper and read the box score to figure out who won.
That is ridiculous. Like, imagine I wouldn't be in charge of that fucking league. Let me tell you, I would not be, and I wouldn't trust anyone to take math of that. Anyway, I'd be sending the numbers to an accountant to get the right numbers.
Are you gonna mess with the old school Italians in Sault Ste. Marie and mess numbers with them?
You know what? If they're in the pool, you don't mess numbers because you know what they break.
Yeah, because they'll break your legs.
Literally, if they're winning the fantasy football, even if you don't want them to, even if they're really not winning. So like when I heard that story that he claimed to be a part of the first fantasy football, if it's in the sewer ever or whatever the story may be, that is cool to really think of. Like imagine the old time stats, like writing down on paper, fellas. Like people can't even cursive write anymore. Okay, that's a dead art. Okay, just like manually tracking stats, like that is errors waiting to happen. It's just errors waiting to happen. Justin, you have a story.
Oh, yeah. Just super random. So like my second year in residence, second year in college in Thunder Bay, I'm just sitting there, door open, drinking beer, watching Monday Night Football on the couch. Wes Welker played for the Dolphins. He's a kick returner, and he just I think it was a rock solid return. And
right, it's post Patriots.
Buddy, no, this was like pre.
What? He played for the Dolphins before?
No, he played for the Dolphins. after, I thought. Did he go to the Dolphins first?
I gotta look this up now and confirm.
Keep telling.
I mean, that's important, though. I mean, this is an important fact because Patriots Wes Welker was nasty.
2004, Miami.
Yeah, he did. Or he started with the Chargers, then he went over to the Dolphins.
Can anybody? Let's do it. I want to get 1 point here. Can anybody tell me what college you went to without looking?
Shit. I saw it.
No,
I saw it.
Texas Tech.
Yeah, I saw it.
Oh, there it is. Okay.
Yeah.
I get a point back.
So that kick return happens, and like Buddy legitimately walks down the hall. He's like, "Oh, was that Wes Welker? Guy's gonna be a fucking killer receiver," and then keeps walking down the hall. I never saw that guy ever again, and that's stuck with me my entire life. And he was pretty solid. Guy wasn't lying.
Yeah, he was.
He might be. Wes Welker might be the best PPR receiver fantasy wise of the 2000s.
Manually tracked. No, actually, they were digitized. I think by then. I think it was digitized in 2000.
My first year playing fantasy football was about 2008, 2009. And Wes Welker was in like his 5th or 6th year. And like by then, fantasy, like I remember guys talking about Pocahontas pre-draft, and Pocahontas ended up being LeGarrette Blount. Like there were code names, like it was top secret stuff.
Remember those? Like you can imagine those days where they used to sit in a room and do live drafts on a paper, one of those big boards, a paper that you throw over the other side.
I got a good story for you here when you're done.
Yeah, you go. You're good. Mine was going nowhere there.
No, but like, you want to talk about like live paper drafts? This is the God's honest truth. So last season or the year before, here in Escanaba, okay, I'm at Moe's Pub, which is where we typically record the hot seat from. I'm at Moe's Pub, and there's a group of Coast Guard guys, United States Coast Guard's members that are there like the week before their draft. And I introduced myself to one of them, and God's honest truth, one of them was like, "Oh, you're the guy on the ESPN show on Mondays." I'm like, "Yeah, thanks for noticing. You know, that's kind of cool." And so Bozen, that's his rank. Yeah, Jeff Ritter, he's the OIC officer in charge. He invites me to come to the draft as like a celebrity, like, "Hey, just come hang out." I end up drafting the guy's entire team and end up winning. And so he calls me 2 weeks ago. He's like, "Hey, I'm wondering if you can FaceTime the draft." I'm like, "Hell no, I'm not FaceTime the draft. I'm not picking your team again." Because he won a championship last year and I didn't.
Fuck. And all the other guys in the pool are like, "No, don't call that guy."
Yeah. Well, I will say this. Shout out United States Coast Guard, Station Sault Ste. Marie. Those guys are awesome. Loyal, very loyal gem listeners. Shout out Bozen. What's up, Jeff? Shout out everybody. They're great listeners, and I'm positive they'll be listening tonight.
In the pocket, they'll love it. Hut for sure. Now, speaking of Hut, I forgot what you played in football. I don't think you were a center. You definitely weren't a center.
No, D line.
Left out.
Line.
Okay, you were in lineman. Did you play EJ football?
I will say this. I never played a down of football in my life. Imagine this sexy body, 100 pounds lighter. I was actually quite the center. Cool. I was a good hockey player. I was a very good hockey player. My dad played collegiate football. Bowling Green was supposed to get drafted back in the 70s when the Niners and the Cowboys were both good. They were both looking at him, hurt his shoulder real bad. Never got to play another down, but football is big in my house. We're a football house where I grew up, especially in Cleveland. You know, you're bred into the Buckeyes and the Browns. In my house, diehard Bowling Green Falcons fans, Ziggy Zumba. What's up, BG fans? But I know football. I remember sitting there watching games with my dad. My dad would be like, run to the left side. And they'd run to the left side. I'm like, "Dad, why don't you go be a coordinator?" He's like, "I don't know football that well." I'm like, "You're calling every play." I grew up in a football house, so never played it down, but big football fan.
You know what? That'd almost be like a good story to talk about, and maybe near the end. If you can remind me, we'll do that near the end. How you got into football?
I would love, and I'm sure we'll never get him to do a show. I would love to have my father on for a show because he would talk us all. We'd be out of a job if my dad got on this podcast. He's so smart when it comes to football. The X's and O's and what he taught me about the game is incredible. I have never seen anybody that can break down a football game like my dad.
Anyone can out-talk me and you, EJ, together on the same fucking show. That's an award as it is in itself.
Well, my dad's not much of a talker. That's the thing. But he's
smart.
When he speaks, you listen. And my father is brilliant. And shout out, Dad. He's never going to listen to this. He doesn't know how to work his iPhone. So, but he loves texting me, calling me, asking about these podcasts. He loves hearing that we're doing them. I got all my knowledge from him. So that's where my football comes from. Didn't play down in my life.
See, that's fun stuff. This kind of stuff that comes up randomly with random conversation. That's the best kind of talk, right? We've always said that is like the freestyle. Now we'll follow the agenda to a slight.
By the way, we only got like 15 minutes left.
LOL.
Well, Hike. I'm actually, you know what? I'm gonna go to EJ first to talk about a game last week that you want to talk about briefly. Little reaction about it. Then Hike, when he's done, you jump in. Then I'll jump in. Then we'll start talking about this week. So EJ, take us away.
So the game for me that I was absolutely blown away by was the Vikings-Bengals game. I expected a lot of games to be close. I expected the Vikings to just, with Dalvin Cook and all the pieces that they have there in Minnesota, I expected them to blow Cincinnati out of the water. And you know what? Cincinnati comes out, plays a tough game, finds a way to tie it up at the end of the game. And that was awesome as well. And then goes out on a multiple drive overtime series and finds a way to win. Jamar Chase, who's actually been struggling with catching the football. A lot of people say that he's having trouble viewing the football. His eyesight's not tracking the football the same way. And a lot of people are actually crediting that to, in college, the football has two white stripes on the nose and the heel, I guess I'll call it. And in the pro game, that doesn't exist. And so I heard Jamar Chase is having a hard time tracking the football. He's had a lot of drops in preseason, ends up getting a big touchdown late in that game. Cincinnati ends up winning. Joe Burrow, 261 yards, 20 of 27 with 2 touchdowns. Joe Mixon having a great game, which I don't think a lot of people saw happening. 29 carries, 127 yards, touchdown. But again, Jamar Chase, 5 receptions, 101 yards, 1 touchdown. Jamar Chase was the difference in that game. Cincinnati kicking, coming up late, finding a way to win it. Congratulations, Joe Burrow. Congratulations to the Cincinnati Bengals. That's not my team. I'm a diehard Browns fan. The Bengals are like our redheaded stepchild. But they found a way to win a game that I don't think they had any business being in. Cincinnati Bengals, game of the week for me.
Oh, I like that. Full dissection from the one and only EJ Russell, host of the Hot Seat and It's Hot. Hike, you're up.
Well, I mean, quick shout out to the last 5 minutes of the Lions game. I gave up on the Colts game after we went for it again on 4th and whatever instead of kicking a field goal and mailed it in. But quick shout out to the Lions. That game was awesome to watch, and I think things are going good there. But I want to touch on the Arizona-Tennessee game. I mean, I don't think the Cardinals got a lot of respect in the on the spread and in the betting world in week 1. And they made a bit of a statement there. And the Titans, what did Chandler Jones have? Was it like 5 sacks, 2 forced fumbles?
5 sacks.
I mean, that's bananas.
Did anybody else see that clip of JJ Watt just looking at Chandler Jones and just being like, what? I mean, he had an amazing game.
Well, I mean, it was, I don't know, as a fan of like watching like defensive line and offensive line work and, that battle, just like the respect you've got to give Arizona's defensive line now. And even the line, it changes how your offensive line operates. And Derrick Henry becomes less of a bruising running back, and he just has to become a necessity in the blocking game. Like they completely, you took him out of the game like that. Like that was a fascinating thing to see.
See, honestly, when you're saying about the Cardinals, when I see them, when they I didn't think they were going to beat the Titans by that big, man. Like that caught me off guard. Kyler Murray throwing 4 TDs, that
5 total touchdowns, 1 on the run, 1 on the ground.
On the ground, exactly. Thanks, EJ.
Well, I mean, like the ball was spread out pretty well too. I mean, like Hopkins had 6 catches. Kirk, I think, had close to, I don't know, 4 or 5. I got to check my fantasy to see where he is.
AJ Green even gotten into the action. Everyone obviously remembers who AJ Green is from the time of myself being a Steelers fan and EJ being a Browns fan, seeing a lot of
being a Steelers fan. How'd you like James Conner there?
Honestly, when I see James Conner getting like 53 yards in a game and just or something like that, I think he had 50 or 53. I was trying to look at the stat I was looking at before we went on, and he's going to fit in perfectly there in Arizona. And that's all I'm going to say. He's going to fit in perfectly there. I think that team is a team that's going to make a lot of noise this year, but for them to get 38 points, that was insane.
I don't know. I think they're going to be fun to watch, and they're going to be a fun team to bet on this year.
Yeah, they are. Now, the one thing I'll say even quickly is that I know we had a lot of praise for different teams this week, and I'm not going to go with the Steelers, with the team or even the game that I want to talk about, because I think everyone's going to anticipate that I was going to go there. I want to go to the Raiders Baltimore game, man. Like, I've been talking about the Las Vegas Raiders for a couple years now, and kind of sound like an idiot in previous times. And now I know the Steelers play Vegas this week, so spoiler, where my pick is obviously on the bias, ain't going to go there. But Vegas is a good football team. I really think that this team is going to be. I hate to flat out say I think they're going to have a chance this year to make some noise and maybe move up. Honestly, I don't want to say playoffs. I really don't want to say that, because I think that's going to be really tough. But watching them play against Baltimore, and I don't think Lamar Jackson had the game that he could have. He did throw over 200 yards and had a touchdown, and he rushed, I think, for just under 100 as well. I don't think he hit 100 on the rushing. So, the Ravens are a good football team offensively, and I just think the Raiders, when I watch the Raiders and see Marcus Mariota there now, somebody, Oregon Duck alum, that everyone knows that I'm an Oregon fan when it comes to college football, even though I barely watch it, unlike EJ. I would really say that the Raiders game last week was the game that was entertaining. I think the Raiders offense really showed what they truly can do, and they can contend with the rest. And seeing them beat the Ravens, that was pretty fucking sexy too. That's all I got to really say.
Well, and the one thing that was a lot of people aren't taking into consideration is that there are a lot of guys like Jalen Hurts, for example, who has thrown for more. I think I saw the statistic today. Through 5 starts, Jalen Hurts has thrown more 350-yard or 300-yard games than Marcus Mariota has, or whoever it was, through 16. Like, it's an incredible statistic. Jalen Hurts and the Eagles have been playing very well, and they're throwing far better than people are giving them credit for. Shout out to the Eagles this week. They played a nice game.
There was just a lot of, like, maybe, I don't know, as a football fan, you kind of get used to, certain teams always being in certain spots every year, and, certain teams sucking, and certain team, there's always the bottom dwellers. And, like, now you're kind of just like, there's some weird matchups that were like super entertaining this weekend. Like the Vikings-Bengals game was awesome. The Lions game was kind of entertaining at the end. The Packers-Saints, like, you thought that was going to be a blowout, and Jameis came out and boom. Broncos-Giants, Teddy Bathwater, not a bathwater guy anymore. Back to Bridgewater.
30-3, the Saints won that game. Like, who, if you guess.
By the way, I remember the statistic I was coming up with. Jalen Hurts has thrown for 2 350-yard games in his first 5 starts, and Lamar Jackson, through his first 20 starts, has thrown 1 350-yard game. That was the stat I was trying to come up with.
See, and that's, Jalen Hurts, that there's people like look beyond some of the players and think, because maybe they're not big household names yet. Okay.
Yeah, I was going to say yet, but
they're going to be
successful. There's 3 quarterbacks right now from the Alabama quarterback locker room that were in the locker room at the same time that are starting games in the NFL at this exact time. That's Mac Jones, Tua Tagovailoa, and Jalen Hurts. And all of them played very nicely this week.
They did. And honestly, Cam Newton didn't get signed anywhere yet this week. So, that's a good thing too.
We could call him. Yeah, let's call Cam.
We could use another additional guest, but I
would love if we could get Cam on the show.
I cut a hole in my hat this week just so I could wear it like him. I just don't have any hair to come out the top.
Well, that depends on what kind of hat. That depends on what kind of hat you have, because Cam wears a lot of different hats.
I got like the 3 Homer Simpson hairs coming off the top of my head. So.
Fashionist. He's a fashion guy right there. Okay, I'm surprised he wasn't at the gala.
Maybe he was. You just didn't see him.
I think it's called the gala. I don't remember.
By the way, let's talk about the Met Gala for 1 second. Can we appreciate the fact that the way that Steph Curry looked at his wife there? Oh my, that is love right there. The way Steph Curry looked at his wife at the Met Gala, that was awesome. Russell Westbrook, though, put together a very weak outfit. All he did was dye his hair with a couple stars. A lot of good looking outfits at the Met Gala, but I'll give the Currys the win for the weekend. Him and his wife.
I like that. Good comment. A little feed for love. If you love someone, give someone a love.
Dude, there's no way I've ever seen anybody. And Steph Curry was sitting there. For those that didn't see it, Steph Curry was sitting there. They took his picture. He stepped to the side and they were taking pictures of Aisha. And he was just staring at her. And finally, she looked to the left at Steph, and he just started giggling like a little schoolboy. He was totally checking out her ass. She looked wonderful. I mean, she looked awesome. So shout out to the Currys. They were probably the best dressed couple at the Met Gala.
He's probably like, I can't wait to get home later.
Did anybody see what Sierra wore?
No.
She was in a lime green. Now we're getting that's a fashion podcast. She was wearing a lime green dress. She was wearing a lime green dress, but she had the number 3 on the front and back for Russell Wilson. That was nice. I thought that was good, but it was kind of if it was a Stardom Sit-'em dress, it was a Sit-'em, but it was cool.
Now that we talk,
can we incorporate that every week now? The Stardom Sit-'em.
I think when we do video,
Stardom Sit-'em pregame outfits,
we should have.
We should do Stardom Sit-'em on what we're wearing, and Dave Sit-'em every week with that ugly Steelers jersey on.
Troy Polamalu.
He's wearing the same jersey he wore last week. I got Jim Brown on this week. Last week I wore Nick Chubb. I'm wearing Jim Brown. Or no, last week I wore Jarvis Landry.
1-0 this week. You don't change.
My God, shut up.
Now, fellas, we got this week to kind of talk about, and we're going to segue a little bit of this week to the pick'em, which will, of course, lead to more of the conclusion side of the show. Sadly, things go flying by when you have fun. We've already been recording for pretty near a half hour, so we've over the time limit.
Negative 3 minutes left.
Now, this week, it's going to be interesting. There's a lot of games this week. Everyone, I say this to everyone, like everyone's in them. But if you're doing a pick'em league, get your picks in, so you don't have the commissioner have to manually track your statistics for the rest of the year. But you have a week this week, which I think is going to be very interesting. A lot of games are going to be different. I'm not a big fan of the Thursday nighter, to be totally honest with you. I'm more of a fan of all the games on Sunday, and then the Monday nighter could be an absolute snooze fest too. Depends on how what Green Bay Packers come out and what Lions come out. But this week's going to be interesting. So what I'm going to do is go around the horn again, and I'm going to start with Hike. And the way we're going to do it, Hike, is pick. I think EJ kind of already alluded to in his previous comments, but if you have to do it again, you have to do it again. It's the fun stuff here. Hike, I want you to have your toilet bowl for the week, your exciting game for the week. Again, if you have to remind listeners what you think it is, and then state your pick'em. So we're going to transition what you think for this week with your pick'em. And then we'll go over to EJ, then save the first place in the pick'em league for last in his picks. Justin, go.
Oof. There's a couple, a lot of good games this week. I think.
Can't pick any shit bowl. Yeah, there you go.
Well, I'm gonna the
I can go in front of them. I got all my picks already done.
No. I mean, I wanted to avoid picking the Colts as the stinker of the week, but I really do think the Rams are gonna come out and hammer them. The Rams looked pretty good on Sunday night, and the Colts offensive line couldn't do jack shit. So Aaron Donald's gonna eat them up. I think that's gonna be a rough one for Indy. Thank God it's on at 1.
Now.
Yeah, a game I'm actually looking forward to is the Monday nighter.
Really,
I want to see Detroit come out and hammer Green Bay. There's nothing that makes me happier than watching Lions fans shit talk people. Man, it's like Leaf fans. It's like you just share. It's like a brotherhood from a different sport. It never goes good, and so when it's going good, you feel great for them.
Honestly, when I look at when I look at the Detroit Lions, I'm a big fan of their coach. I couldn't agree more that I hope that they kind of take the Green Bay Packers for an 0-2 start. That'd be pretty awesome.
I mean, come on, you can't. Everyone in Green Bay is going to start to go mental. Aaron Rodgers is going to be spelling out "relax" to the media again in press conferences. How do you lose?
Trade me is what he's saying. Fucking trade me. How about you pick them? What do you pick?
All right. As far as the schedule goes this week, I'm taking the Giants over Washington, Cincinnati over Chicago, Cleveland over Houston, the Rams over Indy. I don't want to, but I have to for the sake of keeping score here. Buffalo, I think, is going to hammer the Dolphins. I hope, just to come out and kind of save some of my fantasy teams. I think Mac Jones is going to come out against the Jets and win that one for him. Eagles over San Fran, Vegas over Pittsburgh, Saints over Carolina, Broncos over Jacksonville, Arizona over Minnesota, Tampa over the Falcons. Poor Dane. I'm going to take the Cowboys over the Chargers. I think the Cowboys are up for a redemption game this week. Seattle over Tennessee, KC over Baltimore, and the Lions over Green Bay on the Monday Nighter.
Oh, EJ, shit game for the week, entertaining game for the week, and your pick'ems.
So I'm going to kind of double dip here. I think that the most interesting game is also the shit game of the week, and that's Patriots Jets, because that might be one of the worst games you see all year. I don't think Mac Jones in New England have it figured out yet, and I think that if you look at late in that Jets game last week, Jets were down heavy to Carolina and Sam Darnold and found a way to come back and be relevant in that football game. I'm telling you that's probably the worst matchup of the week, but I'm most interested in that. And I'm telling you right now, I'm going to take the Jets in that game. I'm going to take Zach Wilson, gets his first NFL victory at home against the New England Patriots in a division that is very much outside of Buffalo up for grabs. Miami, New England, and New York are not, hard set teams that anybody feels confident in. So I'm going to go with that being my shit game of the week because it really doesn't matter. I don't think either the Patriots or the Jets will be relevant, but I think that might be one of the more important games of this week because if the Jets do find a way to win and Zach Wilson gets his first, he threw for his first NFL touchdown last week. He gets his first NFL win this week at home. In New Jersey against the Patriots. I think that would be awesome for them. So my shit game of the week is also my most interesting game of the week. As far as my picks go, I have Washington over the Giants. I have the Bears actually beating the Bengals. I don't think that the Bengals showed me enough last week to show sustained success. I think that you'll see the Chicago Bears playing a lot more of Justin Fields and being more involved in that game. So I'm going to take Chicago there. Obviously, I'm going to take my Browns over the Texans, Rams over the Colts, Bills over the Dolphins, Jets over the Patriots at home. I'm taking that. That's a big upset. That's my upset of the week. Niners, I actually have beating the Eagles. I thought they showed a lot of people a lot versus Detroit last week and what they can do with a third string running back in Eli Mitchell, who actually came out and had a great game. A lot of people were concerned because Trey Sermon didn't play. Raheem Mostert got hurt early, only ran for two rushes, 20 yards. Eli Mitchell had a great game. Look for the Niners to repeat. They have a great defense coming in. I've got the Steelers over the Raiders, Saints over the Panthers, Broncos over the Jaguars, Cardinals over the Vikings, Buccos over the Falcons. I do have the Cowboys beating the Chargers, and that's actually probably my weakest pick of the week because I think Justin Herbert can find a way to put together a nice game, beat the Dallas Cowboys. That Chargers team with Keenan Allen, one of the best route runners in the league, has a lot of potential to beat anybody. Austin Eckler's supposed to be an awesome running back this year. Look for them to have a nice game after a win, a close win last week. Cowboys coming off a tough loss. Look for the Chargers to play tough, but I do have the Cowboys in that. And then I have Titans over the Seahawks in Seattle. I think Derrick Henry comes back with a 200-yard game. Chief over the Ravens. And then I do have on Monday night the Detroit Lions, who put up quite the effort against a great San Francisco 49ers team. I have them beating the Packers on the Monday night game.
Love that. You know what, EJ, Justin, Great analysis, but I must remind you, always be in the rearview mirror this year in the picks. And that's just me.
Well, my picks are the only ones that are listed as winning.
Now, I'll say
I'm just saying they're listed. It's official statistic that I should be number one.
Yeah, we'll let you have that. I'll let you have that. I'll say right now quickly, the toilet bowl for me this week is actually the Thursday nighter. I'm sorry, the Washington and New York Giants. I'm not too keen on that game. I will tune into the game when I can. I got baseball tomorrow night, so I'll be kind of a quick tune in, and I'm happy that that's the Thursday night because I don't think that's the most entertaining game of the week. There's other games as well that I would say would be up there for absolute garbage games of the week. I was leaning towards Jacksonville and Denver. I was looking at even Detroit, Green Bay, but I ultimately decided to go with the Thursday night as the toilet bowl. The most exciting game for me for the week. There's a couple games that are certainly really stick out that I'm really interested to watch. And for some reason it is Arizona, Minnesota is one game that's interesting, but it's not my game of the week. If I had to give you a game of the week this week, I'm actually doing Tennessee and Seattle. I think that is the game that is my game of the week. I really feel like Tennessee has a lot to
good choice.
I feel like Tennessee's a lot to rebound from. Seattle, of course, is Seattle. They're a great football team all around. You can't really fail when you have kind of the quarterback Seattle has in place. It's just Tennessee, Julio Jones being there, right? Tannehill at the helm, and Henry had he actually ran okay last week. So I just feel like Tennessee has a lot to prove. So I think in terms of the game of the week, it'd have to be Tennessee. Now for my pick, I'm going down in order. I'm just going to pick the winners. I won't state the games that they're having.
Well, just make sure you put them in this week.
Yes, they're in. They are submitted. And I'm actually going to state an interesting fact at the end of the pick'em. So it's even an additional tiebreaker that'll be listed. My picks are Washington, Cincinnati, Cleveland, the Rams, the Bills, the Patriots, the Eagles, the Steelers, the Saints, the Broncos, the Cardinals, the Bucks, the Cowboys, the Titans, the Chiefs, and then the Lions, I think, will make Green Bay 0-2 this week. Tiebreaker, interesting fact that I was going to state, it said predict the scores for these games. That's what it says in our Yahoo Pick'em. I picked that Detroit would beat Green Bay 21-17. Kansas City, I said they beat Baltimore 37-31. And then for the other tiebreaker too, who scored the most points this week, I said Kansas with 37 would be the most.
No.
And then for the least scored this week, I'm going with Jacksonville. I don't think it's going to get more than 6 this week. I think they're going to hit the number 3 this score.
Let me jump in on this. The highest and lowest scoring teams of this week. It might be in the same game. I honestly have the Cleveland Browns scoring the most points this week and the Houston Texans scoring the least. You might see the highest and lowest scoring teams in the same game.
I like that. See that? I like that piece of the tiebreaker in the pick'em. And here I am giving more love to Yahoo, and they don't fucking need it. Let me tell you right now, they don't. They would be like, no, we don't need any more. They don't need any more publicity because everyone does the Yahoo. But there's a lot of pick distribution stats. This pick'em league is really cool. So like, if you don't have a fantasy football league, or you do have one, you just want to do a pick'em with your friends. This is definitely something that losing my voice. Never had that on air before, but back here I am.
Well,
tuning to.
Unfortunately, we've never had that before. Sometimes we don't need to hear you.
But no, that overall the pick'ems are very cool for Yahoo. I guess my voice is finally catching up to me. It was like, Dave, we need to stop talking for once in a day. I think that'd be the one thing. But the pick'em, those are the results. Those are in. Everyone, make sure you get your picks in. Okay, don't be like Gem Prez 13 and miss on those picks. Remember that fucking idiot was on the first week. Jeez, what a dummy.
Scrub.
Now
I still think we should count it.
It's funny. Okay, now what I'm gonna do this is gonna be the conclusion portion of the show, and just to buy a couple more minutes for us that I know we would love to have. I'm going to go around the horn. EJ hike first, and I'll go last once again. Is what made you love football? I know EJ, you talked about this before, about you're in a household full of football. But what was that football moment that got you to be attracted to football?
I'll tell you what. For me in football, it comes down to NFL films and Steve Sable. And, rest in peace, Steve Sable. But the Sable family really changed the way that we look at football by creating NFL films. And for me, it was being able to turn, as soon as the NFL Network got on, like I learned to love football from my dad, but it became a whole new obsession when, Hard Knocks came out, and when you could see these guys mic'd up and in a game, and the way that NFL Network presents its product, it's absolutely incredible. The amount of access that the NFL gives you. And for me, that's what made me love football. I love when I can watch. I remember the second, and I'll tell you this story, guys. I remember the second where I knew football better than other people. And I was still living in Cleveland at the time. It's my post-military career. I'm living with my buddy Chris Bittner in Mayfield Heights. And we went outside. We were having a couple of beers, watching the Browns game. Well, post-Browns game, so we lost. And we were watching a preseason game, and Carolina puts in their backup quarterback. And it was number 2. And I remember we're sitting outside, and my buddy looks at me and he's like, "Oh, Carolina's putting their backup quarterback." And I go, "Oh, who's that? Number 2, Jimmy Clausen from Notre Dame?" He's like, "Yeah, how the hell did you know that?" And that's when I realized, like, oh, I'm at a different level of knowledge than the average fan. And that's when I really fell in love with the game, because I do love college football. I love the rivalries and the pageantry that comes with college football. And I think if you have a huge passion for college football, to be able to translate that to the NFL game and bring a little bit of knowledge, that really helps. And that's when I realized I truly, truly love NFL football, was when I realized that I know this on a level that, some of the biggest sports fans that I know don't know. And so for me, that's how I fell in love with the NFL game. Yes, I'm grateful that I was tutored by such a great mentor as my father. Played high level college football. Fun statistic about my dad for those listeners: my dad played at Bowling Green State University. I've actually read an article where he had something like 38 tackles in a game, and they didn't keep official defensive statistics until about 5 years later. And Mike Singletary has the record with like 37, whatever it is. It's all, I might be off by 1 or 2, but my dad had Mike Singletary's record beat by like 2 tackles, and I've seen the article. And that was when I was like, oh, like my dad really, really knows what he's talking about when it comes to football. So shout out to my dad. Thank you, Dr. Joe Russell, my favorite dentist, for teaching me so much about the game of football. But if it wasn't for him, I don't think I would have paid as much attention. But my love for football really comes from the fact that I realized that, like, oh, I do know this a lot better than some of the best guys I know. So that's where my story comes from.
I like that story. It wasn't brief, but it was worth hearing the whole thing, just so you know. Heikel, you.
Yeah, sorry, this is supposed to be brief.
It's all right. Mine's not nearly as exciting. I mean, just as a kid, I couldn't understand why there was like a holiday in November totally dedicated to football. And then as I grew up, I realized it was just American Thanksgiving. But basically, as a kid, I was just like, this is awesome. There's like a parade in the morning. There's football on all afternoon. And it just kind of became like a tradition thing. And then me and my dad would hang out and like barbecue hot dogs and just watch football in the afternoon. And like as high school came on, then I just started to play football and figured out the game and started playing fantasy football and fell in love with gambling on football in high school. And that's kind of where it picked off for me. But like the whole thing was like the premise that I just thought American Thanksgiving was like this magical football holiday. And I treat it like it is. I legitimately take the entire weekend off every year.
See,
it is a football. We care more about the football than we actually do Thanksgiving here in the States.
Like, honest to God, like the best 2 years was when I went to Lake State, and you could actually take the holiday off. Everyone was as excited as you are, whereas in Canada, everyone's like, "What the fuck's wrong with you?"
Well, again, I'm gonna take up a few more seconds here. Like, I'm wearing a Jim Brown jersey. Okay, everybody can see this that's sitting on this podcast. I loved Thanksgiving football because that meant I got to watch Barry Sanders run the ball, and I remember that those moments better than anything else.
Well, that's what I mean. It was like Barry Sanders, Calvin Johnson. Like, I don't know. They're just, the games on those days are different. It's magical.
See, you know what? You got
even watching the Cowgirls.
Yeah, I mean, that's the only day it's tolerable aside from the other, 14 games that are on in prime time. But
okay, so can I ask you two guys a quick question?
Yeah.
So a couple of years ago, it always used to be Cowboys were one game, Lions were the other. Do you guys like the third random game on Thanksgiving?
I don't mind it. It kind of gives you like after supper, sometimes there's I don't know, like a little extra treat. Sometimes it sucks, but you don't feel obligated to stay around and do something for it. But if it's a good one, it's a good one. And then you just get drinking.
Agree.
Like that. Now, I'll say quickly with mine, and mine's a pretty straightforward story. I watched the Super Bowl was always on in my house. My household was more of a hockey household, of course, and some baseball.
No, in Canada?
Yeah. And obviously, I grew up, still am a Leafs fan. Oh, disgusted still. Anyway, that's another show.
A disgusted Leafs fan.
Disgusted. And I'm still not over it. But I will say hockey and baseball were two in my house, and I got my uncle was the one about the Jays on my dad's side, my dad's brother, then my dad, of course, being a big Leaf fan. But when it came to the Super Bowl, it was always on in the house, but it was something that wasn't as passionate. But my dad had a friend starting, like he always had a lot of friends, but there was one particular friend that came over a lot on every Sunday. And it was even in the late 90s, early thousands, but it was in 2002. I remember the season vividly. It was and that's how I became a Pittsburgh Steelers fan. My dad's friend who, God bless him, he passed away far too young a few years back. His name
Rest in peace.
Johnny Kakulo was his name. He's actually the guy who got me free ice time to be able to train for hockey. If it wasn't for him, I wouldn't have met the trainer I did and had the hockey career that I did, which is very only the junior level. But again, he's a big part of my life when I was younger, and he was a great guy. And what happened is he came over, he was a Steelers fan. And in 2002, that was the year. And if I'm kind of speaking in top of my head here, but they had a quarterback that year. They had Charlie Batch, a quarterback.
Charlie Batch.
And then
arguably the greatest backup quarterback of all time.
So Tommy Maddox went in that year. I remember this
game.
Tommy Gunn.
Yeah, he went in that week, and then Maddox played every game for the rest of that year. So he came over, and I was watching the Steelers a lot that year, and the Steelers were coming off a big year. And I remember Johnny was talking about 2001. I think they were 12-4 or 13-3 or something like that. Or something like that. But that year in 2002, they finished 10-5-1. I remember they had the one because I started watching more games of the Pittsburgh Steelers. They actually won the wild card playoff game against the Cleveland Browns that year. And then they lost
in what year?
In 2002. Yeah.
2002.
Yeah, they lost.
I remember that game.
So the Titans, they played in the divisional playoffs and they lost in overtime that year. But like Hines Ward was there that year, obviously a little younger, and you had Tommy Maddox who went in there. And
that was a great year for Hines Ward.
It was, and that's where I really got passionate about the Steelers. And then things grew from there, and I ended up watching them win 2 Super Bowls. Of course, one against the Seattle Seahawks, and then one against the Arizona Cardinals, which was arguably one of my favorite Super Bowl games of all time. Seeing Harrison run 100 yards.
That was a great game.
Great game to watch. And that's where I got in touch with being a Steeler fan because when I was younger, I had a Bills hat, but apparently I never really had it given to me, but I never really wore it. But then when my dad's friend came over, he gave me a Pittsburgh Steeler jersey. It was this kid one at the time, obviously, because I was 11 years old, and a Steeler hat. And I'm not a guy who wears hats. Second, I never really did much as a kid. But when I did wear a hat, it was either Leaf, Jays, or Steelers hat. So it grew from there in 2002, where I came really big with really a fan of football, but with the Pittsburgh Steelers. So that's.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
If you could go back and put that Bills hat on, which team would you
pick? Put the Bills hat on? Oh.
If you could go back,
Steelers.
Knowing what you know now, you'd still take the Steelers?
Oh, yeah. I saw 2 Super Bowls. And now it might be still even a bit biased because Big Ben's been there since a rookie. I've had the same quarterback to watch for over a decade plus.
Well, and I guess that's an easy question because you just beat the Bills.
Yeah, that too. And then we're actually like one of the most successful and winning franchises in NFL history. So it's that too. But seeing 2 titles was cool. Out of all my teams, I've seen Pittsburgh win, the Raptors win. I've seen FC win, which is pretty cool. But in teams that I really get passionate about watching, I've seen the Steelers and Raptors win. So I was too young when the Jays won in 92-93. I was 1 and 2 years old respectively. So I didn't really get to enjoy that. So I'm hoping I can see the Jays and the Leafs win once in my fucking lifetime. But I think the Jays might be a little bit closer than the Leafs, it feels like. But besides that, we're talking football here, and try to keep it as brief as I can. And of course I didn't, but 02 was the year of my breakthrough for the Steelers. So that's my football.
And give a shout out. Give a shout out to the Rooney family, because without them, we wouldn't have the Rooney Rule, which has allowed minority coaches a ton of opportunity in this league. So that comes from the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Rooney family, which is one of the best ownership groups in the NFL. So they do deserve a little bit of credit for that too. And that's coming from a Browns fan who hates the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Yeah, that was pretty nice of you.
Yeah, it was. It's because they win.
That's as good as it's going to get.
It's like why I dislike the Detroit Red Wings, because
we beat you in the playoffs. Shut up.
You did. That was a hard day. Lots more looking forward for the Steelers this year. We'll see what happens in week 2. But fellas, that's me. I'm good for final comments. I don't know if anyone else wants to go for the 2-point conversion with any other points you want to mention. But nonetheless, we're about to wrap up another edition here.
Look, I'm going to touch on one last thing, just because we are talking Wednesday. The show will come out on tomorrow on Thursday. Today, if you're listening, there are a lot of rumors right now about Urban Meyer and the USC job. Whoa. Urban Meyer is not looking to leave the Jacksonville Jaguars to move to USC. Yes, that move makes a lot of sense. But for those that do listen to any of our college football talk, you're more likely to see a guy like Luke Fickell, who is OSU connected, go to USC. I don't think Urban Meyer is ready to step away. He understands that this is a longer project. But don't be surprised if you hear more Urban Meyer to USC news. I just don't think that that's going to happen either this year or next. If that USC job remains open at the end of the year, look for Luke Fickell or maybe a James Franklin, who's turned Penn State back into a national powerhouse. Look for that to happen. But I think Urban Meyer does stay in Jacksonville. I'll just end on that.
Like that. The one I heard on that was Bieniemy from Kansas City.
I heard that too. I think that the best fit for USC would be Urban Meyer, just because Urban Meyer brings a different level of recruiting to your team.
Recruiting.
And the problem that he's had so far in Jacksonville, from what you're hearing as far as report scores, guys aren't buying into this college team. Urban Meyer's the kind of coach that demands total control. Well, when you're paying a guy $40 million, guess what? You don't get to ask for total control. So yeah. I can see why that job would be attractive to Urban Meyer. However, I think that he's going to continue to finish out this year with the Jacksonville Jaguars. If that USC job remains open at the end of the year, that's a possibility if Urban Meyer doesn't win a game, because this is a coach that's one of the best most winning college coaches in NCAA history. I think that you're looking at a Luke Fickell, Bieniemy, and James Franklin, or even who's the coach at Oregon who just beat my Buckeyes. He could go down there as well. However, I don't think you're going to see a Pac-12 coach go from one team to the other, but college football, there's a lot of news there.
Mario Cristobal, Oregon coach you're talking about?
Yeah. He's done a very good job bringing that Oregon team. And I was actually, and by the way, Dave, Mr. Oregon Ducks fan, I thought that was absolute bullshit that you guys jumped up all the way to number 4 by beating us. I don't think you should have jumped up as high as 4. We should have went the Buckeyes. That was probably the worst football team I've seen play college football for my team in the last 10 years. We should be below number 12, but you guys should definitely not be number 4. You guys should probably be 6 or 7.
We should be number 4 because our jerseys are fucking sick.
Eat my ass.
But I'll say quickly, local football. Everyone's asking about Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario. That's where the show is based. Sault, Ontario, Sault, Michigan. We cover Canadian. We cover United States. We cover all sports on national level as well as where we're most notably for. But anyone asking about local news in Sault Ste. Marie and Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario in particular, we will have news coverage this year for high school football and local football, just so everybody knows. It seems everything's on track for a season to start, and we will have full coverage there for that. But obviously we do not have any additional coverage that we're providing right now. We're going to save it until the season is close to starting and then gets underway right until the end, as always, just so everybody knows from a local end. There's my little blurb for the Game Sports Show local side and the Game Entertainment Media local side. Justin, if you're good, I'm going to get to the wrap-up portion here.
Yeah, I'm good.
Yeah, that was a half-hour show, guys. Good job.
That was good half hour. Good.
Hell of a half an hour. How long we been here? Like an hour and 20.
We had fun and we did a great job. Everyone can leave feedback below, comments, follow, like, and subscribe. EJ, I want you to say anything in docket I thought I was going to rhyme something there, but I didn't. Anything on the docket for the hot seat? I thought I was going to rhyme and say in the pocket there. But
anything on the docket within the pocket? I don't. You know what? The hot seat. Tyler and I are actually having a difficult time scheduling normal weekly shows. So for those listening to the hot seat, please be patient. We're trying the best that we can. Tyler's down at CMU. I'm up here. He's a college student. We're trying the best that we can. But for those of you that do loyally listen, we certainly appreciate it. But listen, we're here today to provide great content. We're here tomorrow to provide great content. And we'll be here next week to provide great content. Come hang out with us at the Game Entertainment Media. We are here to provide the best entertainment we can. For those of you that are loyal listeners of our show, please be patient. We're not perfect. This isn't Barstool Sports. This isn't ESPN. This is the Game Entertainment Media. We're doing the best that we can. But for those of you that are loyal listeners of the hot seat, thank you so much for tuning in. We'll get you the best content as soon as we can. We tend to be more football orientated, a little bit of a gambling show. As soon as Tyler can get in, we'll get back to it. We'll give you the best content that we can. But thank you so much for listening. Thank you for joining us from the pocket. We look forward to seeing you next week.
ESPN, proud sponsor of the Game Sports Show, I will say, in the Game Entertainment Media, though. I love that flex. Heichel, my friend, anything you want to add? Anything on the docket for Heichel this week that's outside of the show, or are you just hanging out?
I don't got much going on right now. I'm garage sailing, looking for random nerdy items this weekend, old Nintendos, anything. And then football on Sunday, and that's about it.
Love it. Love it. I'll stay flat on the docket this week. I've kind of already alluded to it, but we have shows upcoming this week. Strike Zone presented by the Tap Room at Northern Spirit Brewing Company. And then we are projecting to have more news shows this week. We will have a special edition upload this week. It'll be the last special edition upload of September, because then we're going to have a little bit of time off until we start uploading via audio and visual on YouTube. Yep. Game Sports Show and the Game Entertainment Media is going to YouTube.
Big leagues.
We're moving up for that realm, and then you'll have that. So we'll keep an eye out for all the uploads that we have here on the Game Sports Show. Just go to the website or check out where you get your uploads, or just keep an eye on Instagram or Facebook at the Game Sports Show. We're all over the place. Can't miss us. Can't miss it.
And one more thing before we sign off, Dave, and I'll let you finish. Thank you to you. You've done such a great job editing these videos and being Gem president. Anybody that listens to any of the Game Entertainment Media podcasts, please give Dave a ton of credit. Him and Scott have done a great job of growing this brand. So we couldn't do this without you. So thank you, Dave, because last week I actually was muted for a good portion of the show. But if you listen to the episode, you can't even tell I screwed up. So, Dave, thanks for making me look good. Thanks for making us all look good. And thank you for doing what you do. Shout out, Jim Prez.
You caught that. Yeah, I edited that.
Oh, yeah, I caught that. But I screwed up bad.
I edited that up.
And you guys, and I hope, Dave, please tell me you still have the raw of that, because you guys laughing at me for messing that up on episode 1 was so funny. And I hope that the listeners get to enjoy that at some point. We're not perfect, but Dave, we appreciate everything you do for the show.
I appreciate that, EJ. It's great to hear that, but I do it out of passion, love, and the show is only just beginning, even though we're already at a great point and we're
and the Steelers still stuck.
Okay, that's now you ruined it. It's going to be a big.
It was a nice moment. It was a nice moment, and you had to say that.
And now,
well, I'm not going to let him get a win.
it's going to be a big year for the brand. We're excited about our expansion, and I think the listeners are going to love it too. And it gives everyone an opportunity to be a part with us too. I'm trying to give too many hints. I'll stop. Now, getting to the wrap-up portion. This has been In the Pocket, Season 5, Episode 2, presented by Sportscenter Bar and Grill. So we're Ontario's best sports bar 5 years in a row, best wings in town 2 years in a row. And don't forget, you can vote in town right now for all those best votes that they have going on. So you can ensure that SportsCenter gets number 6 for the Sault Ste. Marie's best sports bar, and also make it number 3 for the wings. Any award you can give them. Great job to the staff and the team at Sportscenter Bar and Grill. Shout out to Alicia White. She just got married this past weekend. No, Justin was there in Tiana. So congratulations to Alicia and Shane for their marriage. I don't know if she'll hear this portion to this far into the show, but I think she would have loved to know that we gave her a congratulatory shout out. And also to Frank Ligori at Sportscenter Bar and Grill for being a partner of the Game Sports Show and the Game Entertainment Media since 2015. Fantastic. One of our original homes for a long period of time. So great crew to get down. Just check out SportsCenter on Facebook and Instagram. Get down there and enjoy the great atmosphere today. Thank you to Justin. Thank you to EJ. It has been a great time as always. We'll be back here for episode 3 next week, and probably me staying in first place in the pick'em is my prediction.
Hey, Chet, you're in last.
And I can't even get a conclusion without laughing. We're going to get to that conclusion right now. I'm here to remind you, keep your stick on the ice, swing your bats, catch your touchdowns, drain your threes, and shoot your shots. Booyah. See ya.